Do you want to be a professional sports bettor and find your own bets? If the answer is yes, start with tennis. Best of two sports are the easiest to learn, and with a pool of around 200 players, you will quickly gather a thorough understanding. In this video, I'm going to talk you through the process, the metrics. I'm going to share some websites with you, and I'm going to give you some player examples. If you want to make your own sports betting module or just be more efficient in tennis betting, this is the video for you. I'm Tony from Bet Analyst. Let's crack on. Before we get into the deep analysis, let's just go through some of the basic metrics. So first of all is the actual rank. Whenever you see a pairing, you're going to see next to their names their current rank. Now you want to know what the trajectory is. Are they going up in the ranking, or have they been dropping down in the ranking? And is there a reason for that? Have they been playing a lot of matches, or have they been playing a few matches, or have they just simply been successful or losing? So that's your first question. Your second one to look at is the head-to-head. How have they performed against each other in the past? And more importantly, take this on board, when did they play and what surface was it? Recent form is going to be another factor that you're going to have to take on board. Just have a look through their profile, the recent matches over the last couple of months maybe, and I think that's going to give you a good inkling of where they're at in that stage of the season. You're going to have to really consider the surface. Now this is particularly true of clay. Not all players can slip and slide on the clay surface, right? Also you can mention that for grass, even though funny enough, some of the clay players are doing well on grass over the last few years. What about past tournament form? Go back a few years, have a look at how this tournament played out, look who made the later stages and how these particular players performed if they did play at this tournament. And of course, if the tournament's already started and you're already after the first round, you're into the second, third round, then you can start looking at the result in the previous round. Let's go to level 2 of understanding. So what this is going to be is you're going to have to sort of formulate an opinion of a player's true ability. Now you might do this through the ranking system, formulating your own rankings like the ELO rating system. The most important thing is that you at least understand certain things like the proximity of the last tournament, how that could affect them playing in the tournament that they're going to. So just imagine it's the first round and they actually played in a final on Sunday, and now they're having to play on Tuesday in a totally different location. They've had to travel there, they've had to prepare for that match, they've changed the surface. They're going to be probably suffering from fatigue. They're not going to be at the same efficiency as they was the week before. So even though their form looks fantastic coming into that match, it's not necessarily going to carry over. And that brings me on to also motivation. Now you stop and think about it. Why would a top tennis player who makes a fortune from, winning Grand Slams, winning these massive tournaments, would have got millions on the table, be interested in winning a WTA 250? Do you know what they're worth to the winner? Probably about 70 or 80,000. It's non-appropriate. If you see one of them turning up there, it's purely for practice and they're not going to be thoroughly motivated. So bear that in mind. As far as the court and conditions go, you've got to also consider different places in this world have different conditions. It could be humidity. And what about the courts? How the balls are moving. Are they moving fast? Are they bouncing high? You have to start to categorize a little bit. Even if they're hard courts, it's not one size fits all. You've got to make sure that you really try to understand what to expect. And what about the stage of the tournament, right? Some players are just quick out of the blocks. They're fantastic in the early rounds, but then they start to fade. Now, Alexandra Sasnovich, she would be a prime example. She wins a lot of first and second round matches, but she doesn't progress past that. And this is a bit of an issue. You've got to sort of bear that in mind. Some other players are useless in the first round. They have to sort of struggle and maybe get by, but as they build themselves into the tournament, then that's when they start to really show themselves. And when you're going through the win-loss record of a player, consider what type of tournaments they actually achieve those win-losses at. Got an high percentage, but they were all playing at ITF. They're playing at a lower level. It's like playing in the third league. So just bear that in mind. Take into consideration the level of the tournaments that they've been winning or playing well at, and consider well-being. Some players can just turn out every week. Tatiana Maria is one example. She's a working mother, 37 years old, on the tour, playing literally every week. And then you've got somebody like a very talented player like Karolina Muchova. She can hardly play more than maybe 10-15 tournaments a year. That's like a maximum for her. She suffers a lot of injuries. She needs time between matches, between her tournaments, and that's what's always been her Achilles heel. And you can also do a bit of scouting for like player news, like coaching changes, a new coach. It's a bit like in football. If a new coach comes in, they're going to perform for them. So, keep your eyes open, watch the news and see if anything's happening on the scene. And finally, on level 2 section, I would suggest that you look for patterns. Now, some players come good at a certain time of the year. They need matches to get into the season. Some start the season fantastically and then start to fade. Obviously, the courts and, the change in which part of the world they're playing in could be a factor. But just have a look through the profile. The profile reveals a lot more than you actually think. If you're looking for easy profits, get yourself a Pinnacle Odds Drop. This tool tracks the falling odds at Pinnacle Sports, the sharpest sports book in the world. It then notifies you of these drops, removes the vigorish, and then you've got benchmark odds that you need to beat. Do this on a regular basis and you'll make a fortune. To reach level 3, I would suggest you learn how to categorize players. Now you're going to put them into groups, and these groups are going to consist of 6 different elements, and one of them is going to be a big server. Now, some players are particularly good against big servers, and that's why we start categorizing them, because we can see the identicals then. So just for example, big servers for me would be Petra Kvitova. And what about Karolina Pliskova? She was the number 1 all or nothing type of player. If she got a serve in, she controlled the point. And if you want to consider a current top 10 player, Kim Wen Zhang would fit into that bill. And then you've got the all court players like Igor Swiatek. She can literally play on anything. She's got all the movements, everything in place, right? She's going to handle any situation. Madison Keys would also come under that. What about Corey Goff? She's a bit all or nothing, but she is an all-court type of player. And then you've got Karolina Muchova, one of our favourites. She doesn't get to play very often because she does suffer a lot of injuries, but she's a very, very good player and she can handle literally anything. And if you want to look a bit further down the list, one of the former players that's probably starting to come back up a little bit, that's Sophia Kenin. She would also fit into the sort of all court player. And if you want to then go to retrievers, you probably start thinking about Emma Navarro. And what about Daria Kasatkina? They're going to be chasing all day long. It doesn't matter where that ball is, they'll run after it. You've got Jessica Pegula if you really want to go higher in the rankings. And what about Paolini? Even Varvara Gracheva is particularly good at chasing the ball down. So these are the type of players that never give in, so they're beaten firstly when you've actually won the match. Then, of course, you've got the on-the-net players, players that are good at coming in and making it difficult for others. Collins would come into that, Danielle Collins. What about Ons Jabeur? That's why she's been in the finals of Wimbledon a few times. She's willing to take on the shots. She will come in short and play the balls. And even Ostapenko, look at her record on grass. She's surprisingly good. She's very adaptable and, she's a bit erratic, but Yelena Ostapenko, on a good day, she's a very good net player. And then, of course, if you want, what about the long rallies, the players who are willing to stay all night if necessary? Sara Sorribes Tormo would be my favourite in this category. She will play 3-hour games every day of the week. She's just a stamina. She takes no risk whatsoever. The ball's always within sort of a metre of the court. There's nothing deep in the baseline, but she will chase it down. She'll push it back, and those matches will go on forever. Even Jessica Pegula, again, could put into that category. And we could even add Elena Svitolina for that. She's into the long rallies. She'll sit there, she'll play it out, she'll play the long game. So long rallies, Elena Svitolina. And then, of course, you've got those who are all or nothing, who like to play on the front foot. If they get their way, they'll win. If they don't get their way, they'll soon fade out. Now, Veronika Kudermetova, she's a prime example. Just been watching her in Stuttgart, did exactly that, controlling the matches, looking great, but then once she got punched in the face, that's it, she's gone. Golf is also in this category, and you could even go to Naomi Osaka, even though she's not playing so much over the last couple of years. She's the player that loves to play on the front foot. She's like all or nothing. Caroline Garcia, She's all power, nothing else, and one of the actual top ones in this instance is Bernarda Pera. She will play all or nothing. It either works or it doesn't. She doesn't shame herself. If that first ball, second ball's not finished, then the game is over. Quick interlude: if you are liking this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you've got anything to say. So the last section is reserved for in-play betting. Now obviously this is a bit different, so I'm not going to call it level 4 because it really does depend on the individual. Some people are good at in-play betting, some people are totally useless. But if you want to do tennis in-play betting, you've got to take on board a few things. So let's go through what you need to be watching for with in-play betting. And firstly, that's going to obviously be body language, right? You're going to be watching how a player is reacting. And once you get to know them, it is relatively simple to see whether they're in good form, especially with women, you know, with the WTA players. They tend to be a little bit different to men who show less emotions, so you can soon get a feeling for the game. Movement around the court is going to be a big thing. If they're chasing the ball down or they're going to start tiring, have a look into their profile a little bit, try to understand what player you've got there in front of you. Injuries and bandages, they're going to be a bit of a giveaway. Obviously, you know, some players will just call it today, they'll quit mid-match and then you'll get nothing from the game. So you also need to look at a player's profile and see if that does happen. Now back in the day, Belinda Bencic used to do this every second or third week. She's not done it for ages, but that's just something that you've got to take into consideration. So it is all visual. Also, think about the scoreboard pressure. When a server is actually 3-4 down, it's no big deal. But when it's like 5-6 or 4-5, you know, and it's getting to the end of the set, that's when you start sweating. That's the scoreboard pressure. Look at how players have handled this in the past. Also, think about if the players used to go in 3 sets, you know, going the distance, because again, if it's 1-1 at the end of the first set, you might want to start considering who are you going to be betting, you know, who's got the most stamina, who's going to see it out, who's got the psychology to actually go on. And you'd be quite surprised actually that the first set winner wins actually the third set. So even though you think the other players come back, they actually regroup and go again. Another one is the actual tie break record. Now there's no guarantees, but some players are winning 70% of their tie breaks, and some players, you know, they're down there winning 20-25% of their tie breaks, right? So bear that in mind. Again, it's all there in the profile, so you can actually check it. That's all the pre-match research that you're going to have to do before you go into the visual part of the in-play bet. And the last thing I'd like to say on it is, the more you watch, the more you're going to learn. It is simple as that. The official website for the women's game is WTAtennis.com. You can check that out. What you see here, you can see the tournaments, actually what are coming up, you know, what are passed from 1-5 onwards, the scores, the rankings of the players, and so on. Basically, you've got news and videos feed, photos, but more importantly, you've got you know, some interesting articles, and yeah, it's just like basically sort of to keep up to date and maybe watch a few short. If you get over to the ATP tour, this is the equivalent in the men's game, in that it's got exactly the same. It's got the scores, you know, the actual tournaments that are coming up, news on what's happening. You can see some points. You can actually log in and get a little bit more from it. So I don't think we need to get into that because you can check it out for yourself. It's all self-explanatory. What I do like, and I will highly recommend, is this small website. Now, it's not the prettiest, but Tennis Abstract, you know, it's an individual person. He's keeping all this up to date. I mean, it's a fantastic project if you start thinking about it. You can actually see, yeah, you can't see this always on the websites, but you can see the fixtures that are coming up, and you can actually see the head-to-head, you know, how they've performed against each other in the past, right? So take this one, Elise Mertens, she leads Diana Schneider 1-0, and if we actually click on that match, we can see here, 27th of February in 2023 in Monterey. It was on hard court. It was in the first round. You can see the rankings at the time, so that's quite interesting because you don't see that feature on most of the websites. And you can see the actual score and the dominance rate. A is for the ace rate, DF double fault. Then of course you've got your sort of first services in, your first service percent that they actually won, second service percent, and you've got the break points saved 2 from 2, and the time of that match was 1:09. If we then move on to something else on Tennis Abstract, it's called the ELO ratings, and this is very interesting because it actually shows you how they rate individual players as opposed to taking their ranking literally. So you can see the actual ELO rank is down on the side there, and you can see the player's age, the ELO score that they've got, the ELO rank on each individual service. So H is for hard court, C is for clay, G is obviously for grass. I find that very interesting because it is a bit of maths, and also this you can get this explained if you wish to. You can click here and go into the blog, and you will see there it is, an introduction to tennis ELO. So that's where you can learn a bit of sports mod. Now I'm going to recommend tennislive.com, especially for profiling. Now, as you can see there, that's the live scores. I've probably already clicked onto the WTA, right? You could obviously do ATP if that's your interest. But if we just actually go, we're not interested in the live scores themselves, so we're going to click on the actual WTA Stuttgart. We have to click on to schedule, and then we can see the matches that are coming up. So if we go back to that Elise Mertens against Diana Schneider, and we actually click on the head-to-head, now we can start doing a little bit of profiling. What you see here is that Elise Mertens, you can see her rank. She's 29, and she's 29 years old, and that's the prize money that she's won. And we're going to see a little bit more about her in a second. And as far as Diana Schneider goes, she's just 21 years old. She's jumped over Elise Mertens in the rankings. She's now 13, but she's just got a couple of million in prize money, and you can see that pass head-to-head that we just sort of spoke about earlier. Now, as we sort of scroll down, you can see the sort of recent matches, how they've been playing, but you can actually click on the player itself, and now you can get their history, and you can do it year by year. So we can just look at this year's if we wish to, and we can see that Elise Mertens actually started the year by making the final of Hobart, then she made the second round of the Australian Open. She won Singapore, and since then, you can see what's been happening. You can also see the players that she's been beating. She won in the first round of Stuttgart here against Alexandra Sasnovich, which was a pretty good performance. You can click on the match details, and there you go. You can actually see how the points went, but more importantly, you can see her first serve percent ratio, first serve percent won, and so on, right? The break points won, double faults against the aces. That gives you some idea about how our player is performing. Also, you can see her opponent hit up 5 double faults, and obviously Sasnovich is not a big player, so in terms of banging down aces at least, and so that's not going to happen. But yeah, you can see the actual sort of math. So I would definitely recommend that you look into tennislive.net. Another website so particularly pretty, and that includes this one, live-tennis.eu. What you can see here is the actual live rankings. So these moving up during the tournament. So you actually, on the other websites, you're actually seeing at the beginning of the tournament, and it just stays for the rest of the week. But this is actually in live as it's happening. So you can see, the points that they're going for in the next round. Are they still in the competition? The points, they're the points, for the next round. The maximum points that they can actually achieve if they win this tournament. Their current status, the highest rank that they were at some stage of their careers, and their actual current rank. So it is quite interesting to sort of keep up to speed, and it's relatively simple. You can also check out coretennis.net. This is a relatively easy site to read. You can navigate yourself around it. It's got pretty much the same in terms of it's got data, it's got the tennis results, it's got all the players in there, the tournaments that are coming up, the rankings, the statistics, the country watch, and so on, right? So, if you want something something just as an alternative. Court tennis is worth checking out. And then of course you've got tennisexplorer.com, right? So this tells you the tournaments that are going on at the moment. You've got the ATP, the WTA, it's got all the data there. What I actually like about this site is just one thing, and that is this. It's the tennis news. It basically links you over to the websites that are reporting on tennis. So you can see here in The Guardian, Le Boisson pokes fun at Ariel Dart about the deodorant, and so I mean, if you looking for a bit of sort of bedtime reading, tennisexplorer.com is interesting. So I hope you got something out of this long form video. And if you want, you could always think about joining our mentorship program. While this is for serious gamblers, it is a fast track service to get you to the top. So check it out for yourself. That's it for now. You're through to bootcamp again. Catch you in the next one soon. Bye bye.